This is Alita Angel, and in the past 25 days, she's attempted to build a giant museum of the dead, completely from scratch. She's crafted the zombie hit lists, she has looted mannequins, and she has fought and killed nearly 2,000 zombies. This is part 2 of her story. Now, if you want to see part 1, then the link to that video can be found in the description below. But if you just want to see what happens next, well, buckle up, because this is how Alita Angel survived 100 days in Project Zomboid. It's day 26 and Alita wakes up knowing she needs to get a wriggle on with the Great Zombie Museum. But we have 3 problems. 1, I haven't found an area to even begin to build it yet. 2, we needed so many more mannequins seeing as I currently only had 4. And 3, I still desperately need a crowbar because without one, I can't pick up the mannequin stands which are key for putting my mannequins on. I'm not fucking around when it comes to displaying. But running back and forth between the safety of Rosewood and the dangers of Moldra was becoming time consuming, so I thought it would be a good idea to take quite a bit of stuff with me this time and set up a sort of small base to work out of Moldra from. Grabbing some food for the journey, and it dawns on me just how little food we have left. The sooner that the broccoli comes to harvest, the better. Then I head into the neighbourhood to grab a Jenny to take with me to Moldra. I might be needing power once I arrive, and then we're off.
Do not go gentle into that good night. Old age should burn and rave at close of day. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Though wise men at their end know dark is right, because their words had forked no lightning, they do not go gentle into that good night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light.
Well, fuck. What a disaster. I'm back on foot, and the only good thing was that it at least happened right on the outskirts of town. But right now, I'm immobile, which isn't great. I head into town and clear the remaining few zombies around the gas station, leveling up Long Blunt to level 3, and in the process, I set up a small, temporary base. After clearing out the surrounding area, I go about getting a makeshift car work so that I can go and push my old car over. Amazingly, I find a car with a little gas, but no battery. I make a battery switch and take it down the highway to knock over my car. Success. I'm back on the road. I park at the gas station, drop off loot, and get the generator up and going. Then, I spend the evening clearing out more zombies and looting the nearby police station. I steal a chair from the police station lobby and bring it back to the gas station, and I sleep in the storeroom. Zombie kill count, 1,937. It's day 27, and I spent the morning killing my way up the main street of Moldra and looting stores along the way. I got into trouble a couple of times with large hordes, but having my warhammer on me meant it was a breeze. One-shot kills is bliss. I find a clothes shop, but was bitterly disappointed that neither had mannequins for my quest. I also found a bookstore and picked up some key books that I needed to continue getting XP gains for leveling up. And then, in the Arvo, I drove around the back of the gas station to a couple of warehouses which were chock full of goodies. But again, massive disappointment with no crowbar. What the fuck do I have to do to find a goddamn crowbar? I looted and cleared the area, and then dead tired and hungry, I retreated to the small storeroom in the gas station and went to sleep. Zombie kill count, 2043. It's day 28, and with Muldra coming up dry for mannequins, it was time to push on and enact Operation Boy Scout. I had to head north to scout for possible build locations for my great zombie museum. I'm thinking that just north of Muldra will be a good spot, as it's a pretty central place on the overall map. And that way, carting around mannequins back to the museum wouldn't be too bad no matter where Alita finds herself on the map. So, I headed north and immediately run into what looks like some kind of military outpost. I backed out of there and checked the map to see if there was another way through, and I found some back streets that might lead me north. It looked promising as I made my way towards the area that I had marked on the map. That was until I came across a small settlement that turned into a rather larger town. This place was crawling with zombies, and it quickly became apparent that this area was definitely no good for building my great zombie museum. I drove through it, looking to come out the other side, but the road was blocked. Having to turn around, I took a wrong turn on the highway, jam-packed with broken cars on one side and a forest on the other. I was in trouble. Zombies were closing in from all directions. I desperately tried to turn the car around, as zombies poured out of the nearby woods, collapsing on me from what felt like every direction. Slowly but surely, with zombies banging on every window, I managed to turn the car around. I could get out. Then, the car abruptly stalled. Shit. I start the car again, but it stalls almost immediately. I'm in big trouble. I desperately try a third time to get the car going, but she's officially fucked. Every second I waste now means that more zombies close in on my position. I have to make a quick decision, and it's life or death. I start the car one more time to push the zombies back, and I get out of the car. Holy shit. Somehow, I managed to escape with just a scratch. Thank you, baby Project Zomboid Jesus. But now, well, now I'm fucked. I'm stranded a long way from any refuge, and the car is gone. Not to mention the key goodies that I carried with me in my car, including full gas cans and any tools and backup weapons that I had. Surely I've lost them. And the big trailer too. So, I run, with hundreds on my tail. I push back towards the outskirts of this town and finally manage to drop the herd. I kill some stragglers and take refuge in a solitary trailer. Well, shit. Now what? I have two choices. I can either start walking all the way home, or I can hunker down and try to make the best of it while I'm out here. And after checking the map and seeing just how far away I am from home, there's only one thing for it. Hunker down and fight. I returned to my trailer as night descends on what was a terrible day. There was one positive though, as I did manage to finally find a crowbar on one of the dead that I killed. Now, if I can find a way out of this mess, I can finally pick up mannequin stands that I will need to display my mannequins. The trailer had a water jug, which meant I had fresh water, but there was one gnawing problem. I was stranded in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by zombies, and with no working vehicle. And I was hungry. Zombie kill count, 2000 156. It's day 29 and a rumbling stomach meant the priority was now finding food. I also needed to find a new car that I can get up and running so that I can try and get out of this mess that I've created. Operation Boy Scout is a total disaster. A thick fog of course makes things difficult in the early morning as I head north dispatching a couple of hordes. I then stumble upon a tiny food market right on the edge of town. My stomach growling, it's life or death. Amazingly, I find 4 cans of food and a packet of dried kidney beans. It's a huge find. This will keep me going for a couple of days while I try to figure out a way out of here. I cleared a path back to the main highway and spied my car. I had a new plan. There was plenty of fucked up cars on the highway, and if I could clear the dead from my vehicle, I could perhaps fix whatever the problem is with the car and get it back up and running again. It's a solid plan, but for now, I'm just dead tired. So rather than risk it all, I head back to the trailer to eat and get a lot of sleep in the hope that tomorrow I can find a way out of this mess. I wash up and read some more of Electronics Volume 2 before trying to get some sleep in a horribly uncomfortable chair. Zombie kill count, 2,236. I awake at 6 AM, a restless night. I open a can of tomatoes for breakfast and then head out to hopefully clear a path through the undead to my broken car. I make it to my car, but the engine is on 0%, and without the required mechanics levels, I can't fix her up. I need to find a new ride. So, I spend the day canvassing the area and killing any zombies in the way in a desperate search for a half-decent vehicle. And just when it looks like I'm going to strike out, I finally find a big truck outside a diner that with a little TLC can be up and running. I fix up the truck and then drive it over to the highway to pick up my trailer. I grab an arcade machine from inside the diner because... And then I grab a cot bed from one of the trailers and bring it back to my temporary home. I will sleep well tonight as the horror of Operation Boy Scout can finally be put to bed. Tomorrow, I will attempt the trek home, now knowing that the area north of Muldra is a bust and I'm no closer to deciding on a location for the Great Zombie Museum. Zombie kill count, 2,348. So the scouting run was a fucking disaster, and now I needed to head all the way home. But first, it's time for breakfast, and I decide on some canned corn. Jod, control yourself. Don't you dare. Don't even think about it. I swear to God. I need to go back to Rosewood and the fire station to see if my broccoli has come to harvest. So it's time to jump in the truck and get the fuck out of this nightmare. It's a long and arduous journey, having to swerve left and right to avoid hordes of zombies. And eventually, I make it back to Muldra, where I stop at the gas to go to grab all the loot that I had found in the days prior. Loading up the truck, and I continued the long drive home to Rosewood. Finally, arriving home, and I check on my farm, and my broccoli is ready to harvest. This is huge, and just in time too, as food was running really low. Then, I spend the rest of the evening just unloading the truck and finding places to store all of my loot. Zombie kill count, 2,428. It's day 32, and now that I was back home and well rested, the first thing to do was tend to my garden. The broccoli was ready to harvest. So I got to work, and it yielded in excess of 50 broccoli, which should keep me going for quite a while. But more importantly, while I was harvesting the broccoli, I leveled up farming to level 2, which means it now opens up far more options for me in regards to what crops I can actually plant. I then got my lumberjack on and cut down some trees, as I wanted to craft 2 rain collectors. These rain collectors were going to be really important for keeping my garden well watered, as the water had been shut off now for over a week. Next up, Alita decides to build a quaint little fence around the garden, before having a look at all the possible seeds that we can plant next. This turned out to be very confusing, because like a complete idiot, I forgot to read the instructions on each seed packet, so nothing came up for me in the menus to plant them. So in the end, I just put more broccoli in the ground, because I'm an idiot. By this stage, Alita was knackered, so she came inside and finished reading Carpentry, Volume 3, before heading to bed. Zombie kill count, 2,429. I wake up to plenty of rain, which was great for my recently built rain collectors, and it also means that now I won't have to dip into my clean water jugs for watering my garden. Today, I needed to find a new car. The truck I'd driven all the way home had just 9% on its engine, so I thought I would drive out to the prison. It had been almost 2 weeks since Operation Shawshank, so I thought I would go and get a lay of the land and perhaps find a new car in the parking lot of the prison. I had to kill a few zombies on the road towards the prison, and in the process, I leveled up Longblade to level 2. Arriving at the prison, and I pretty much immediately turned around. The herds had not dispersed at all, and there were far too many to take on. So instead, I had to head back into the neighbourhood of Rosewood for a new car, and I decided to take my welding gear with me and work on levelling up metalworking while I was out and about.
Multipass.
I ended up at the school and found a pickup truck in okay condition. The only big problem is the brakes are absolutely shot. I head inside the school and do some metalworking, taking apart several lockers to level up metalworking to level 2, and then I head back to the fire station. Back home, and I go about trying to change the brake pads on my new whip. I don't really have the required mechanics level to do it without degrading the brakes, but I eventually get 2 new brake pads in at 10% and 41%. It's better than the 0 and 0 that I had before, but it's still not great. Needing a break, I head inside and started reading Mechanics Volume 2 before heading to bed. Zombie kill count, 2,511. It's day 34, and with the terrible failure of Operation Boy Scout still fresh in the mind, it got me thinking. What is the point of risking life and limb looking for a spot to build my great zombie museum when I have a lovely, safe, zombie-free place right here in Rosewood? The field right in front of the firehouse. It's perfect. With the position decided on, the next step was to start construction. So, I got out my trusty sledgy and I knocked down the fence to allow me access with vehicles to the build site. Then, I collected the logs that I'd gotten from chopping down trees earlier and brought them over to the site. I sawed them all down into planks, and with that, I put down our first wooden flooring of our great zombie museum. I continued to lay down flooring until we had a decent little area, which gave me a rough idea of the size of the project that I've got on my hands. In the Arvo, I decided to head back to Fashionable. Operation Boy Scout hadn't been a complete waste of time, as I did manage to find a crowbar, which now meant I could pick up the mannequin stands for my mannequins. Alita then spent most of the day just chopping down trees, bringing over logs and sawing them down, and then laying down more wooden flooring. It was tiring, but rewarding work. Exhausted, I retreated to the fire station and got stuck into Mechanics Volume 2. It had been a quiet day, but having broken ground on the Great Zombie Museum and construction finally underway, it felt great to be making real progress. Zombie kill count, 2,511. It's day 35, and I woke up and finished reading Mechanics Volume 2 to secure extra XP boosts. I really needed to get my mechanics skill up so that I can just fix the cars that I already have, rather than constantly having to find a new one every time I write off my car. With the new XP boosts in mind, I decide to head out and grind mechanics. So, I spend most of the day working on different cars and manage to level up mechanics to level 3. And then I head back to the fire station and decide to keep going with construction on my great museum. I then chop down trees well into the evening, and then I decide to tow this box truck out of the way, as it has been annoying the shit out of me since day 1. I head inside and get started on farming volume 2 before bed. Zombie kill count? 2,516. After a quiet couple of days getting stuff done around the base, Alita felt it was time for an adventure. With construction of the Great Zombie Museum underway, it was now becoming apparent that we badly needed mannequins to fill it. So, a trip to Riverside was in order. So I packed up a few things we needed for the trip, mainly weapons, tools, food and water, and off we went. I took the fuel truck as the brakes on the black truck were absolutely shite, and in a journey this long, I needed a reliable car. As I headed off, I noticed a few zombies had moved into the police station next door. After clearing that out, we were off to Riverside to enact Operation Madame Two Swords. After a very long drive, swerving in and out of zombies and discovering the outskirts of a few different towns, we finally arrived in Riverside. As I drove through, I did spy 2 clothes stores with mannequins in the window. The operation was a go. Now, I just had to clear the area of the undead, so I got to work. I killed and killed until it got too dark to go on. But having cleared quite a lot of zombies from in and around the main street, hopefully tomorrow I can make it inside both clothes stores. Completely exhausted, I grab a chair and retreat to the Seahorse Coffee back room and sleep for the night. Zombie kill count? 2,648. It's day 37 and I wake up in the Seahorse Coffee shop's back room, refreshed and ready to forge on. Today, I plan to breach both clothes stores and claim the mannequins and mannequin stands inside. Heavy fog makes the going tough. It must roll in off the water here, but I push through and manage to successfully loot saucy clothing for 6 mannequins plus all the mannequin stands. I continue to push down the street, looting the hair salon and Enigma books as I get closer and closer to the second clothes store. And then I find Jason Voorhees. That's one for the zombie hit list. I make it inside Lola Lemon and I start looting the mannequins when I realise I'm completely out of space. Even after doing some Tetrising, I was still well short. So, being the loot goblin that I am and not wanting to leave anything behind, I decide to try to find a new car with more space so that I can bring everything home with me. I manage to find an awesome big family car with plenty of space and I start moving everything over into the new whip. with everything finally looted and secured, I'm ready to head back to Rosewood. But it's super late and dark, and I'm completely knackered, so I decide to make the journey home in the morning. For now, it was back to the Seahorse Coffee Shop storeroom to sleep for the night. Zombie kill count, 2,726. It's day 38, and I awake with fresh optimism. I'd breached into Riverside and I'd claimed all the mannequins that it had to offer. Operation Madame Tussauds had been a great success, but with a rumbling stomach and the car packed and ready, it was now time to head home. So, I jump in the new whip and I head for Rosewood. It was slow going at first. The heavy fog brought visibility down to almost zero, so I took it real slow so as not to crash the car. Having returned home safely, Alita headed upstairs to snack on some broccoli, and then it was time to unpack all the mannequins and their stands for the great zombie museum. Now, we were really making progress, and you could now see a small preview of what it could really become. But we needed more, so many more. I then spent the afternoon unpacking all the rest of the loot from the Riverside run. With everything finally unpacked, Alita, exhausted, falls into bed and continues to read Electronics Volume 2 before hitting the sack. Zombie kill count, 2,744. I wake up on day 39 and finish off reading Electronics Volume 2, and with the new XP boost in place, I then go ahead and disassemble all the electronics that I've looted in the past week, and in the process, I level up electronics to level 3. I then head out to continue construction on the Great Zombie Museum. Late in the arvo, I decide to see if I can drag Bumblebee down to the gas station. It turns out our friend here is a fuel storage unit, and it will be handy to have a bunch of fuel on hand at home, rather than having to head back and forth to the gas station. After towing the car out of the way, I attempt to hook up the bus, but it's a no-go. I next see if I can budge this thing with my truck. It's slow going, but it works, and we're off. I arrive at the gas station and clear out a few lingering zombies, and then I start to fill her up. It takes us well into the night to get her all filled up, and then, with the rain coming down, we make the slow drive home. We make it home, and with Bumblebee all fueled up, it was time to get some sleep. Zombie kill count, 2,754. It's day 40, and Alita wakes up restless. She's eager for another adventure. And looking at the map, I realise that Murder Town almost connects with the corner of Rosewood. And I wonder if I can sneak in from below and claim more mannequins. Well, there's only one way to find out. So, we grab some weapons, I refuel at the new Bumblebee fueling station, and then we hit the road. I arrive into the outskirts of Pit Stop, and I get to work. As As I fight my way further into town, I stumble across a C10 truck, which is in absolutely mint condition. And then, fighting zombies on the street, I find the key to it on one of the corpses.
Take it! It's yours!
I continue to cut through the hordes, moving ever closer to my target. But it's getting late, and fighting in the dark is a surefire way to an early grave. So having cleared out a small part of the neighbourhood just south of the main street, I decide to stay the night in this small house and then push on tomorrow. Well, fuck. With the amount of zombies in Pitstop, this will drag in hundreds. I have to bail. And not only do I have to bail, but I have also dragged hundreds right to the access point of getting onto the main road to get to the clothes shop. What a disaster. Exhausted and disappointed with not being able to breach into Pitstop, Alita falls into an uneasy sleep. Zombie kill count, 2,879. It's day 41, and with the failure to breach into Murder Town, I decided that perhaps I needed a little more stopping power. So, I checked my maps, and there she is, the Riverside gun store. So, another long trip was in order, but this trip was vital. I needed all the guns and ammunition that I could get my hands on if I'm to take on larger population zones. But firstly, I wanted to grab that sick car that I found yesterday on the outskirts of Pitstop, and considering my current black truck has almost no brakes, it was time for a trade. Returning home, I grabbed some supplies for the trip, and then I set off on Operation Pew Pew. After a long drive, I arrive and start to kill my way into town. This place is fucked. There's literally zombies falling from the sky. Then, I make a huge discovery. I was here for guns and ammo, but there is a bargain close here with 5 manis and mani stands. A huge find. So, I then spend the rest of the evening looting the manis. I get them loaded up, kill some more zombies, and then grab a chair and haul up in the storeroom of bargain clothes for the night. Zombie kill count, 3,019. It's day 42, and Alita wakes up in the storeroom of the bargain clothes that she looted yesterday. Today, I needed to break my way into the guns and ammo store and loot anything that I can find. I take care of the dead outside, and then using my sledgie, I destroy the metal fencing to make my way inside. I start looting, and even with the insanely rare loot mod in play, this place was chock full of goodies. I take everything, and it took me well into the afternoon to loot all of the guns and ammo shop, and then load it up into my trailer. Then I decided to do a little scouting to see what else was in this town. I spy a fishing and outdoor shop. There has to be some good stuff in there. I try to fight my way inside, but get turned away. There's just too many. I retreat to my storeroom in bargain clothes and get some sleep. Zombie kill count, 3,104. I wake up on day 43, and with the guns and ammo shop looted, and the added bonus of finding manis and mani stands at the bargain clothes, it would make sense to cut and run and head home. But that fishing and hunting store was just too big a draw card not to loot whilst I'm here. So, despite heavy fog making things difficult, I trudged through town, dispatching the undead on my way back to the store. With the fog being too dense and making going really difficult in an unfamiliar town, I decide to take refuge in a car and read some of Farming Volume 2 whilst I wait for the fog to clear. But I completely finished reading the book and it's now past midday, and yet the fog still hasn't cleared. I'm wasting time. So, against my better judgment, I decide to head out and brave the fog. I make it to the hunting and fishing store, clearing the dead as I go, but before I head inside, I spy an arcade next door, and I absolutely have to check it out. Oh my god. I want it all. I have to stay focused. I'm not here for games, I'm here for survival equipment. I reluctantly leave the arcade, and ignoring the hunting and fishing store for now, I venture further into town, and down an alleyway I find a weird little honey shop. I peer inside, and manis. Huge. I found more mannequins for my museum. I head inside to loot and find a bunch of fresh honey. Any extra food right now is pretty huge. I take the manis outside, and then looking for a back way through to my car, I end up in a bigger fight than necessary. Whilst killing the undead, I level up Shortblade to level 1 and then finally head inside the fishing and hunting store, which is a bunch of great survival equipment. Over encumbered, I head back to my whip to drop off loot. It's getting late though, so I decide to spend one more night in the bargain and clothes storeroom before making the long trip home tomorrow. Zombie kill count, 3,200. It's day 44, and I wake up and make my way over to the manis that I'd left outside of the bee shop. I grabbed those and loaded them up into the trailer, as it was finally time to head home to Rosewood. Even though it had took longer than I thought, it was a successful mission. I completely looted the guns and ammo store, getting a huge amount of ammunition that can be used to clear larger hordes, as I had a few places up my sleeve to head to next. I also got a massive bonus, finding manis and mani stands for my museum. And then on top of that, I found plenty of survival gear in the hunting shop. Operation Pew Pew was a raging success. The car though was not in great shape. The engine is in the red, and with a long drive ahead of me, I'm a little concerned in getting home with all my loot. Then, disaster strikes. Luckily for Alita though, the blowout happens right near a couple of broken down cars, so I decide to stop and see if I can grab a new tyre. I find a fresh tyre on the back of the Jeep and go about installing it on my beaten up old truck. As far as disasters go, this one was turning out to be just fine. I hop back in the car and it's off we went, but something didn't feel right. The car was dragging. It almost felt like the tyre I just changed onto my car had almost immediately fallen off. So, needing to take a look at the right side of my car, I turned the steering wheel and crashed straight into a tree.
That was fucking embarrassing!
Turns out, the tyre change seemingly didn't work, and I do in fact have no front right tyre. But that is now all irrelevant, as after crashing into the tree, the engine now won't start. Well, fuck. So, I'm stranded in the middle of nowhere with no ride. Absolute disaster. So with nothing left to do but get on the move, I grab some supplies and I head south for what looks like the edge of a town. I arrive into the outskirts of this unknown town and have no choice but to kill my way in. It's getting late though, and I haven't seen any cars whatsoever, so I clear out a falafel shop and grab a chair and sleep in the bathroom for the night. Zombie kill count, 3,284. It's day 45, and I wake up in the bathroom of a random falafel shop. I need to find a new car so that I can get back to my trailer and get home with all my loot. So I head out on the search for a new vehicle. I come across a couple of cars, but they both are out of gas. Then I come across a big dump truck. The engine is in pretty bad shape, but she runs, and she even has a tiny bit of gas, which will be enough to get me back to my trailer. I drive back to my broken car to pick up the trailer, and on the way, I swear I spy Patrick Bateman. I stop the car, get out, and sure enough, there he is, in all his glory.
Is that a gram? New card. What do you think?
Whoa, very nice. Look at that.
That's one for the zombie hit list. I make it back to my broken down car and move all the loot into the new whip. I attach the trailer and we again set off for home. Finally, after 5 long days on the road, I make it back home. I check on my garden and make sure that it's all well watered, and then I bring down a couple of lockers from upstairs, as I will need the room for all the new loot that I've returned home with. Then, exhausted, I head to bed. Zombie kill count, 3,329. It's day 46, and it's a super quiet day for Alita. We check on our food supplies and also check on the progress of the farm. And then we spend a lot of time unpacking all the loot we got from Operation Pew Pew. But most of day 46 is just a build and organise kind of day. So I spent the arvo moving my manis around. I needed to get this sorted into some kind of cohesive look. I can't decide if I want one sprawling warehouse kind of look or if I should build some stairs and go for a multi-level museum. In fact, let me know which one you guys think I should go for in the comments below. Next up, I head over to the police station to begin tearing up flooring that I want to use in my museum. It's time-consuming work, but the Great Zombie Museum is slowly starting to come together. And then, having looted the hunting and fishing store in Riverside, I decide to get stuck into Fishing Volume 1. Food is running really low, and with the farm still a good week away, I need to find new ways to acquire food. So, tomorrow, I would start my fishing journey. Zombie kill count, 3,329. It's day 47, and Alita wakes up and spends most of the morning finishing off reading Fishing Volume 1, as today she wants to head over to the small lake just south of Rosewood and try a hand at catching some food. So, with all our fishing gear equipped, we head on over to the lake, clearing the dead as we go. After clearing the vicinity around the lake, I get to work setting up our fishing traps, and then I get out our fishing rod and do a spot of relaxing fishing. Alita felt great. The slight cool breeze across her face, the warmth of the sun on her skin, the sound of the lapping water and the reel being sent out. For a brief moment, Alita forgot all about the horrors of the devastating collapse of mankind. Then, the line caught, and flushed with excitement, Alita reeled in her first catch, a pair of old socks. Fuck, fishing was hard. Outside of the socks, the only thing we caught was a small pajeri. I have no idea about fish, but it only gave me -1 hunger. Does anyone know what I can do with this fish, or is it utterly pointless? Running out of worms and insects to pop on the fishing hook, we had to head home. I made some instant popcorn and got a start on foraging volume 1, as I would need to do some foraging tomorrow to hopefully find some more worms to pop on my hooks. Zombie kill count, 3,399. It's day 48 and I wake up and finish reading foraging volume 1 to secure XP boosts. Then I decide to head back out to the lake to check on my fishing traps. The traps come up massive, with a ton of fish, eel, crab, crayfish, and a giant wolffish. Arriving home, and then I fillet up one of my big fish, stick it in the oven, and Bob's your uncle. Fresh meat. Alita was in heaven. Actual, real, fresh fish, cooked to perfection.
Let me tell you something, and listen to me.
That was delicious.
With his stomach full to bursting, Alita heads outside to do some foraging. I level up foraging to level 1, and then I head back to the fire station. I spend the evening doing a little construction work on the museum, and then I organise the manis and the mani stands a little better to get an idea of the setup that I will go with. She's really coming together. I head home and I realise that I can craft a stormtrooper outfit, and I must absolutely have one for the Great Zombie Museum. So I craft one and I give it a whirl. Then I get started on cooking volume 2 before heading to bed. Zombie kill count, 3,426. It's day 49 and we're officially approaching the halfway mark of our epic journey. With quite a few mannequins collected in the last couple of weeks and construction well and truly underway on the Great Zombie Museum, I thought it was time to have a look at the list and start setting them up inside the museum. I needed to cross off those that I found on the list and make it a little easier to identify zombies that we still needed to find. So I get to work dressing up my mannequins and crossing some zombies off the list. I have all 4 members of the Barbershop Quartet. I've got one of the 2 Jason Voorhees on the list, and I found Leatherface and Freddy Krueger. I've collected a Culture Zombie, John Morgan, Gunshop Andy, a Brickbuster employee, and a Crossing Guard zombie. I've also found Funeral Guy with Flowers, Yellow Hazmat Zombie, a Triple N News reporter, Spy Red, and Ghostface. I've also found some zombies that aren't on the list, but I've added to the museum personally, like Boxer Zombie, Amazonia Warrior, Stalker Zombie, Nomad Zombie, a member of the Barrel Dogs biker gang, and the Snow and Grass Ghillie Suit zombies. I still also had some recent finds, like Patrick Bateman, which I hadn't set up yet, but looking at the list and crossing off those that I found, it had become abundantly clear that there was still much work to be done. We needed more manis. A lot more. It was getting late, and I decided to head over to the small lake to check on my fishing traps. Unfortunately, whilst checking them, 3 of them broke, but 2 remained, and we got a decent little bit of seafood from the traps. And in the meantime, we also leveled up fishing to level 1. On the way home from the lake, I decided to stop and clear a bunch of zombies, and in the process, leveled up Longblade to level 3. I come home and have a bunch of algae for dinner, and then I continue reading Cooking Volume 2 before bed. Zombie kill count, 3,446. It's day 50, and we're officially halfway there. Spending yesterday setting up all the zombies we have found for our museum made it pretty obvious that we needed more mannequins. So, I decided to head back into Murder Town to see if I could breach the clothes shop there for the 6 manis on display. The last time we had tried, we had set off a house alarm right at the wrong time. But with a few days having passed, I'm hoping the herds have dispersed, and I can make my way down the main street and grab the manis and the mani stands that I need. Considering the amount of zombies in town, I'm going to need some good weapons. I'll take the Mossberg as a last resort, but going loud in pit stop could be a death sentence. Then, I remember the katana. Perfect. She'll be one-hit chaos. I gear up and I head out. It's a massacre. The katana is balls deep as I cut my way through hordes of zombies to within striking distance of the clothes shop. But killing so many zombies has taken up most of the day, and with darkness descending, I take refuge in what looks to be a butcher's shop just a couple of stores down from my target. As day 50 draws to a close, I can sleep well knowing tomorrow there is potentially 6 more manis on offer as my dream of the Great Zombie Museum lives on. Zombie kill count 3,655. Next time on Alita Angel versus the Apocalypse. Work continues on construction of the Great Zombie Museum. We kill a ton of zombies on the search for more hit list contenders, and we find and breach our first shopping mall run. If you've enjoyed the video, please caress the algorithm by leaving a comment on how much you love and respect me and want to grow up to be just like me. Also, like the video and consider subscribing to the channel. Well, that's it for today. I'll see you guys in the next one.